Y'all, it's your girl, Dr. J, and I would like to welcome you back to or welcome you to my YouTube channel where you can let it flow with Dr. J. I hope you guys have been good and life has been treating you well. Before I jump into today's video, I would like to share two things. First, I will be hosting a webinar titled Ready, Set, Go, Conquering the Fear of Not Being Ready. This webinar is for those who are stuck and can't seem to move forward due to fear and other things that may stunt our growth, like insecurity, imposter syndrome, and even perfectionism. We will dive into all four of these areas and unpack strategies to help you conquer your fears so you can move forward with confidence in your life. A link to the webinar is in the description, so don't procrastinate. Grab your ticket today and join us live on August 15th at 6 p.m. Central. Second, our new Facebook community will be going live this month, and I am excited. The community is called Her Unity, Empowering Women Through Divine Connections. And it is a space to connect women of color worldwide to build networks of support that embraces unity, inspiration, transformation, and faith, yielding growth that changes narratives, unleashes potential, and embraces purpose. This will be a safe space where we can share vulnerabilities and lived experiences, receive support and guidance as we navigate this crazy thing called life, attend workshops and webinars aimed at supporting our overall health and well being, and have access to in person and virtual events and activities, but also building community by cultivating healthy relationships with like minded women. The official launch date will be posted on our social media accounts, so please follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Her Divine Connection for more information. And I'll also share those links in the description as well. With that said, let's jump in and talk about our friend Abraham and how God sent him into the unknown, but also how this relates to what God sometimes does in our lives when he needs us to experience something and somewhere new to get us to our destiny and the promises that he has for our lives. So in Genesis chapter 12, particularly in verses 1 through 9, God gives Abram, and remember, Abram was his name before it was Abraham, but God gave Abram clear instructions to leave where he was to pursue a path that Abram knew absolutely nothing about. So if we look at verses 1 through 9 in the New King James Version of the Bible, it'll actually tell us, and I'll probably skip over a couple of things, but go back and read it at your leisure, at your own time. So it says, Now the Lord had said to Abram, Get out of your country, from your family, and from your father's house, to a land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse him who curses you, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. So Abram departed as the Lord had spoken to him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. Then Abram took his wife Sarah and his brother Lot's son, and Lot his brother's son, and all their possessions that they had gathered, and the people whom they had acquired in Haran, and they departed to go to the land of Canaan. So then we jump down to verse 7, and it says, Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, To your descendants I will give this land. And there he built an altar to the Lord who had appeared to him. And he moved from there to the mountain east of Bethel, and he pitched his tent with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. There he built an altar to the Lord and called on the name of the Lord. So Abram journeyed, going on still toward the south. Now, if we unpack this further, we will understand when God spoke these words to Abram, he was living with his family in Haran and he did not have any descendants. In fact, his wife Sarah was barren and unable to produce any children. So this means that God made promises to Abram that with his mind and probably our minds too, it could not be seen or conceived as logical. Like, how can a man whose wife is barren think about receiving a promise regarding children he does not have after being instructed to go to a place that he does not know. The way that God presented this journey to Abram was by providing instructions to leave, but not telling him exactly where he was going, all that he would encounter on the journey, what his experience would be like when he got there, besides saying that he would be blessed and promising him that he would have descendants. You see, God gave Abram clear instructions, but he did not give him any details regarding the journey or the process. You see, the way that God moved with Abram in this moment is often how he moves with us. He will provide us with instructions, but he may not provide the details or the full picture that we desire when we are going into the unknown. Sometimes God will purposely leave out details because he knows that if he told us everything we would have to do, the people we may encounter, the experiences we may have, which could include hardships like illness, financial problems, loss, and a myriad of other experiences or challenges, we may abort the mission before God even finishes providing all the details. You see, God knows his children, and he knows that we are who we are. He knows what we would be like if we knew everything. He knows that if we knew that we would have to experience certain things, things that we may consider too much work, time, or effort, or simply too difficult for us to deal with, we would say, never mind, don't send me. I don't want to go. Or that's okay. I no longer desire that thing or want to pursue those dreams. I mean, if we really think about this for a moment, and not just from the perspective of Abram's situation, but also considering even the Israelites and their journey to the promised land. God sent them on their way, but he took them the long or more scenic route. And one reason why God didn't send the Israelites on a shorter route to the promised land is because he knew that if they would have seen war, strife, experienced famine, and anything else frightening or even discouraging, they would have aborted the mission and gone back to Egypt because of what they had already gone through. He knew that while he promised them so much more, if they would have experienced one more hardship or seen one more thing that looked like they were going back into conditions that did not seem favorable, they would have taken their focus and their eyes off the promise and God and aborted the mission. So sometimes God withholds certain information from us because he wants us to continue moving forward and to keep our hope, trust, and faith in him and not in our own strength or ability to handle the challenging things that we may have to endure or persevere through. It's not that God doesn't love us enough to forewarn us, it's that there are some details we are better off not knowing so that we may get to our promised land or to fully walk in our calling and purpose in life. You see, God wants us to believe like Abram. When he instructed Abram to go, the Bible tells us that Abram departed and took his wife, Lot, and all they owned and the people, and he left. He stepped out into the unknown with only his faith and God's word. He didn't procrastinate. He didn't take a few months to think about it. He didn't sit down with family and friends and ask for their permission or their advice on what God instructed him to do. Abram didn't sit back twiddling his fingers saying, God, I'll go, but you have to tell me all the details first. You have to tell me exactly where I'm going to live, what job I'm going to have, if I'm going to meet new people or have new friends, what kind of house I'm going to live in, how many animals am I going to have, and how much money am I going to make. Abram didn't get bogged down with the details or with needing to know each and every step he needed to take to get to the promise. He didn't sit back and focus on his age, his abilities, his resources, or his shortcomings. He focused on the fact that God instructed him to go. And I'm sure he probably kept the promise in the back of his mind, especially when the journey got rough and things felt uncertain and a bit out of place. This may have been the thing that actually kept him moving forward. Hearing that God would bless him, that he would make his name great, that he would make him a great nation, that he would curse his enemies, and that he will receive descendants. This was really probably on his heart and in his mind because he knew that God would do exactly what he said he would do. His faith and trust in God, so not just the promise, but his faith and trust in God allowed him to step out into the unknown and to allow God to lead him to where he needed for him to be. You see, what Abram did is what we need to do when God instructs us to go. We can't sit back and wait for everybody else to confirm or to agree with what we know God has instructed us to do. We don't need their confirmation or for them to agree that we're going in the right direction. We also can't sit back and look at who we are, where we are, and what we currently have or what we don't have. Focusing solely on us will actually stunt our growth and prevent us from moving forward because we are going to look at our own strength, the skills and the qualifications we possess, the money we have in the bank, the degrees we have or don't have, and anything else that we can think of to ensure that we have everything in order before we step out. We're going to try to figure out every major and minor detail so we can feel like we have a sense of control and like we know where we're going and what we're doing before we leave. But when God instructs us to do something we have never done before, we must go. We must move forward, trusting that what God said in Jeremiah 29:11 holds true, that He knows the plans that He has for our lives, plans to give us a future and a hope. We must have faith that wherever God leads us, He is going to be with us, and that He will never leave us nor forsake us or put us in situations where He has no intentions or no means of providing. That means if God told you to write the book, write the book. If God told you to start the business. If he told you to leave that job, leave. If he told you to end that relationship, let it go. If he told you to go back to school and get your degree, enroll and see it through. If he told you to relocate, pack your stuff and go. You can't sit back worrying and stressing over things like never writing a book before, not knowing how to start or successfully run a business, not having another job lined up, or not being certain of how the new opportunity God is sending you into or positioning you for will work out. Not even knowing if you will ever find love again, or if God will replace the friends or people you let go, or if you will do well in school, or worrying about if you will have all that you need in the new place He is sending you to. If we focus on all these things when he tells us to go, this means we are getting bogged down with the details and we're taking on stress and worry that God did not intend for us to carry. Yes, we are human and yes, we have concerns, but we must take these things to God by saying, Lord, I don't know where you're sending me. I don't know how it's going to work out, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And I have some fear and uncertainty about stepping into the unknown, but I trust you. I have faith that you are going to provide me with everything and everyone I need to do what you have called me to do and to go where you are calling me to go. Lord, I don't know what lies ahead of me, and I don't know what I may have to face on this journey, but I'm going to go. And when I go, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust that you are ordering my steps. Your shield, your grace, and your protection are upon me, and I have no reason to fear. But just in case I get a little worried, or I get a little frustrated, or I start to doubt, I trust that you will be with me. I trust that you will carry me when I am unable to carry myself, and you will dry my tears and give me your peace that surpasses all understanding, especially when I cannot see my way or when things feel too difficult for me to handle. No matter what, God, I am going to trust you and I'm going to keep my faith and my hope in you, knowing that your word will not return to you void, but it will accomplish what you said that it would at the appointed time. We must trust that even when it seems like our backs are against the wall, when it seems like we've done all that we can do, when money looks a little funny and people start acting a little crazy or funky, and everything around us is telling us to quit, to throw in the towel, and to give up, we must know without a shadow of doubt that God will still make a way and He will get us to where He needs us to go. No matter what, we must continue to meditate on his word, and we must remember who he is and keep the promises he has made to us on our hearts and our minds, especially in our darkest and most difficult moments, and especially when it seems like we are going into the unknown. All right, y'all. I hope this message blesses you and meets you at your point of need. I've dropped a few scriptures for you in the description, along with a link for the upcoming webinar, Ready, Set, Go, Conquering Your Fear of Not Being Ready, and my social media information. So don't wait. Get your tickets, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't, but also follow us on Instagram and TikTok if you're not already doing that. All right, y'all. Peace and love. It's your girl, Dr. J.